What is up, everyone? Welcome to a Fantasy Friday this week. So, what we're going to be talking about today is I did a couple drafts over the last few weeks, and oddly enough, I got one where I was the first pick, a fifth pick, and a 10th pick. So basically, first pick, middle of the pack, and last. And what I want to do is I want to go over the draft strategy I had in each of those different spots of picking. And you'll notice a lot of similarities and you'll notice some differences. And what I want to do is I want to go over and explain some of the choices of reasons why I chose the way that I did. But first of all, let's look at everything in entirety as a whole. So this is what we're looking at here. And as you can see, I kind of color coordinated there to show you that light blue is wide receiver, light orange is running back, and then the other positions I didn't really color code because what I wanted to show you was one of the main draft strategies I have when I go into drafting is the first 11 rounds. I usually go heavy wide receiver and running backs. The reason being is you're going to play these positions a lot more than any other position. Running back and wide receiver both take 2 positions each, and there's a flex that takes a running back and a wide receiver, and or wide receiver. Now you may be in some leagues where that can be filled in with a tight end, and you draft strategy can be a little bit different where you draft a second tight end, but it just really depends on your draft setup and everything. So as you will notice, in all 3 of these, my first pick was a running back. And the only one that I did double running back first 2 picks was when I was first pick. And the reason being is when it came back to me in the first pick, a good running back was still there. So I said, you know what? I'm going to take a second running back. I'm going to fill in that slot. And then I took a receiver to start my receiver core. When I was 5th pick, I went running back, wide receiver, and then I hit 3 running backs on the next 3 picks. 10th pick was a little interesting because that one is the of the 2 positions that get to pick back to back, it gets to pick first and that way as back to back, but it takes a while to come back to get another back to back pick. So the 2 best players that were left, in my opinion, were Kareem Hunt and DeAndre Hopkins, which is phenomenal in my opinion to get in 10th pick. DeAndre, last year when I drafted him, I got him in the 4th round. I knew he was going to have a higher price tag this year because of Deshaun Watson connecting with him really well. But I was super happy at 10th pick to take Kareem Hunt and DeAndre Hopkins. If you are in that position and you're unhappy with that, I don't know what I can do to help you because that is one of the greatest positions you can be in as the last pick. And then as it came back to the next time, I took Royce Freeman and Mark Ingram. Now, a lot of people are like, why are you taking Mark Ingram? I took Mark Ingram every chance I got in the 4th or 5th round. Being that it was a back-to-back pick, I had to take him in the 4th because I knew he wasn't going to be there when it wrapped back around for 5th and 6th because you're looking at 60th and 61st pick. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to take him 4th round. He was still there. A lot of leagues, I tried to wait till 5th round. People were taking him in the 4th. Some were even taking him in the 3rd round when Alvin Kamara was going in the 1st round. I love Alvin Kamara. I drafted him last year in the 12th round, and he was amazing for me. But I don't know that I believe wholeheartedly in a 1st round draft pick for him. I think you're more apt to go with an elite, established running back. Don't get me wrong. I love Alvin Kamara. He's a great running back. Dude's explosive. He will get you fantasy points. The only problem is they really want to lighten his load to make sure he's not hurt. You know, things like that. But the dude, he's remarkable with the few touches he gets, he explodes with them. So I think taking him in the 2nd round is okay. Depending on what position you're in, it really doesn't matter if you take him 2nd round. Like if you're 10th pick and you take Kareem Hunt, Kamara, it's not really a 2nd pick. It's still a 1st round pick in my opinion. But you can say you got him in the 2nd and just make it seem that much more valuable. And then as we go down, you can see I was pretty high on Josh Gordon. I know a lot of you are probably like, why would you draft a Cleveland Brown player? I actually drafted a couple Cleveland Brown players. I stayed away from Javaris Landry because of Josh Gordon. And I believe Josh Gordon is going to have an amazing year. He has, there's some tools around him with Carlos Hyde, Javaris Landry, David Njoku, and him. Like, that's four major threats on offense that the Browns actually have. If they still had Joe Thomas as an offensive line, that'd be great, but they don't. Their front line, if Baker Mayfield is okay from the injury and can recover and actually do good. I mean, they also have Tyrod Taylor, which he's not bad. There's a ton of weapons to throw to for Tyrod. That defense is looking pretty good. Myles Garrett is looking like a beast. So that's why I don't feel too bad taking a Cleveland Browns player. I'm actually valuing Cleveland Browns players over, get this, Dallas Cowboy players. You know why? I'm sorry, you Cowboy fans, but I cannot stand the players on that team. Zeke is the only player I might draft from that team, but even then, Zeke falls pretty heavily for me. I would much rather have David Johnson, Kareem Hunt, Todd Gurley over him. Like, he is literally out of the top 5, maybe top 10 running backs. I would pick him dead last every single time if it was given an option to not have him. So, Zeke as a whole, he's okay, but their team is it's going through a rebuilding phase. And Dak's numbers have been dwindling. I don't believe in Dak. The first year he played, he put up okay numbers for a rookie. Nothing close to what Deshaun did, but you have to give him a little bit of credit there. So, I was having Josh Gordon, Chris Hogan, Corey Davis, even Julian Edelman. I know he's got some suspensions, but Tom Brady loves himself some Julian Edelman. I mean, the dude is amazing in the slot, especially in PPR. He's going to get you a ton of points. And Brady knows how to spread the ball around. Now that Amendola's gone, they've got Hogan and Edelman, and I forget who the third guy is, but Edelman and Hogan are going to absorb a lot of targets along with Gronk. Now, a lot of people are going to look at it and be like, well, if Gronk absorbs a lot of targets and Hogan absorbs a lot of targets, when Edelman comes back in, how's that going to fill in? I believe it's going to fill in just fine, especially since Edelman is the slot receiver. So I don't think he'll do too bad. I'm pretty sure he'll get a ton of, 5, 6, 7 yard catches, especially in PPR. If he can get 5 to 6 catches, that's 5 to 6 points. So, I think for the rounds that he was going, great pickup at those 8th through 10th rounds. Couple other people I want to mention is Devin Funchess. I was super surprised at how low he was going. I was able to get him in the 11th round in the draft picks I got. He has essentially replaced Calvin Benjamin on that offense. And now that Jonathan Stewart's also gone, you've got Christian McCaffrey, you've got Devin Funchess, and Greg Olsen. That's a pretty good squad to where they're going to have to protect on. And if you were watching some of the preseason, Funchess had some amazing catches. Like, he's definitely developed as a receiver over the offseason. So I was super happy to get him in the 11th round. I was really surprised people were passing on him. But the one I want to talk about that a lot of people are probably looking at this chart going, at 12th pick, you took a quarterback? Like, why didn't you take Tom Brady? Why didn't you take Aaron Rodgers? Why didn't you take Drew Brees, one of the elites? Because quarterback position is so deep this year. It was deep last year, too. The only way that it's not deep is if you're in a 12-man double quarterback league. Then you have to take quarterbacks early. But if you're in a 10-man regular league where you start one quarterback, you have Carson Wentz, Deshaun Watson, Alex Smith, Kirk Cousins. I mean, the list goes on of all of these quarterbacks. Eli Manning, you can take in the later rounds and save a good draft pick in the 3rd and 4th rounds instead of taking Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady. In standard scoring, even in PPR scoring, a lot of the quarterbacks, they only average 17 to 20 points. You have your free games where they're scoring 25, 26 points, but there's a lot of running backs and receivers that do that a lot better. than some of the elite quarterbacks. Now, I'm not bagging on Brady or Rodgers or Breeze. I love those guys. I think they're great quarterbacks. But in fantasy, it's a whole different monster. You don't want to get stuck wasting a third-round pick on Rodgers, Brady, or Breeze, and then something happened to him and you have to go get a different quarterback when you could have had a different a receiver or running back who's just powering out for you. And as you can see, in the 5th spot, I did reach up and get a kicker. The only reason why I reached up and got a kicker is if you look at the picks after the kicker, you can see that Greg Zerulian is going to outscore all of those people except for probably Alex Smith in fantasy points. Now that's crazy to think about with a kicker, because most of the time you look at a kicker and it's like they get anywhere between 3 to 7 points a game. Zerulian was averaging like 12 points a game in fantasy, which is insane. The only 2 kickers I would take in the 8th, 9th, or 10th spot is Greg Zerulian and Steven Gostkowski. Those are the only 2 because they actually score like wide receiver 10 territory in fantasy points. It's insane what those guys can do. So being in the 5th pick, being as, I got to pick every 10 picks, I said, you know what, why not? Let's just go get Greg Zerulian. He's going to provide a lot more fantasy points than probably any of these wide receivers or running backs I could have taken. Yeah, I could have taken a quarterback, but really, it didn't really matter. I already had my eyes set on a quarterback that I absolutely knew nobody was going to draft. And then you can also see as my tight end, I'm huge on George Kittle this year. George Kittle and Jimmy Garoppolo have really formed a connection. I really think Jimmy G loves throwing to Kittle. Yes, he has other weapons on that offense, on that Kyle Shanahan offense, but I just feel that there's going to be a big connection there. It's going to be like a Brady-Gronk connection. And who better to have learned from than Brady? I mean, look where Jimmy G comes from. Brady and Gronk, he knows that connection. So I'm sure he knows how valuable the tight end position is on scoring points, getting yardages, getting those first downs, making those completions. So I'm really high on him being a tight end. The other tight end I would have taken had somebody taken George Kittle is David Njoku. That kid is he's a monster. I think he's still rough around the edges, but if you get somebody like Tyrod in there, or Baker ends up living up to expectations, Njoku could be a really good target too. The only reason why I favor Kittle over Njoku is there's a lot more mouths to feed in Cleveland than there is in the Niners. So that's why I'm a little bit higher on Kittle. But those are the 2 that I would take over, your Gronks, your Olsens, your Kelseys, things like that. Because those guys, again, are going in the 3rd, 4th, 5th rounds. And I really don't think that you should be spending that much of an early pick on people in the tight end position. And then, as you can see, the kicker I chose in the other ones was Jake Elliott. Jake Elliott's a fine kicker. Kicker really doesn't matter. Defense doesn't really matter. Defense, you're dropping them, every other week. They're matchup based, and I felt the Lions have one of the best defenses. I totally figured out who they were playing in week 1, but I was like, you know what? Give me the Lions. They'll probably play the Bears first week, and that'll be a murder fest or something. But really, as you can see, kicker defense, 14th, 15th round most of the time, except for that one exception in the 5th round where I took Greg Zerulian pretty early. But as you can see, you can get a pretty much feel for my strategy, the way I draft. I believe this is one of the best strategies to do. So if you're going into a draft weekend this week, you got a live draft or even an online draft, think about this style of drafting, because what it does is drafting a lot of running backs and wide receivers early gives you your core group. Your running backs and receivers is the core of your team. That's 5 spots on the 9-spot roster that you have to start, right? 9. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. So it's like 57% of your roster. I'm terrible at math. I probably have that wrong. But the point being is, if one of those guys gets hurt, you have to fill in that position. Now, if a quarterback gets hurt, you got one guy to replace. Big deal. There's tons of quarterbacks. Same with tight ends. Same with kickers. Same with defense. They're a dime a dozen. You know, that's why I strongly encourage drafting running backs and receivers early. Also, it helps to know who the handcuffs are, who the second strings are, who the potential starter, you know, taking over the starting position. As you can see, I took Aaron Jones in a couple of them. I took Tevin Coleman in one of them. You know, Devontae Freeman has a lot of injury issues. Tevin Coleman's in a contract year. Another one to pick up, God, I forget his name, but the kid on the Steelers, I think it's Connor, something Connor. He handcuffs Le'Veon. If Le'Veon goes down, which I'm super not looking forward to in that first one, but if he goes down, Connor's going to come in. That kid's pretty good. You know, Derrick Henry. I know I stressed I would not draft Joe Mixon. In that 5th pick round, there was no one else to take, so that's why I took him. But, you know, as you can see, I've got Carlos Hyde, I got Jamal Williams, Isaiah Correll. You know, a lot of little guys who, given the right week, have a good matchup. You could get some good points if one of your guys are on bye. You know, that's another thing you have to look at is the bye weeks. Since running back and receiver is, you know, 5 out of the 9 spots, when bye weeks hit, you could really be struggling if both your tier running backs are on bye that week. So it helps to have a couple more, you know, RB2, RB3s in the back corner, ready to fill in and hopefully etch out that win for the week. So, but hey, that's the draft strategy I did. I wanted to show you guys the results. Luckily, I got the positions I got to show you a really good spread of where people are being taken, what you may get as a result of the spot that you're in. And honestly, I'm happy with all 3 of these teams, how they came out. So I'm super excited for fantasy to start. I'm super excited for football to finally start. This is preseason week 4, which is boring as hell because no starters are going to start. But that just means we're getting ready for the kickoff week. So I'm super excited. I'm super ready. But anyways, if you guys have any questions, comments, leave them down below. I'd love to hear, love to have discussion with you guys about some of this stuff. Maybe you guys have a different way you draft. That would be interesting to hear. Maybe you do like a kind of like a, what would they call that? Like a hopscotch or whatever you do. Wide receiver, running back, wide receiver, running back, wide receiver, running back. You just kind of tier it like that. Or maybe you go like double running back, double receiver, double running back, double receiver. Or maybe you just go quarterback first pick. Who knows? But, you know, it'd be fun to hear some of your guys' draft strategy. It'd be fun to hear some of the comments you guys got about it. And look forward to hearing about it. Look forward to seeing some of the comments. And definitely looking forward to football season. So I hope you all have a wonderful day and God bless.